Hello and welcome everybody to 1950. In 1950, positive golf things that were going on. Ben Hogan won the US Open in 1950. This was the peak of Ben Hogan's, like, let's win a lot of majors. It was pretty interesting to watch. MacGregor, obviously, M75. Come on. They made these for a few years. This is the 1950 model. It is pretty shallow and often overshowered by awesome persimmons. So, wingback design, and this is the design they carried through, it seems like, for more than a decade with this, lovely, lovely design. I want to actually show you some of the details of this, talk about how we identify it on my review table. So let's switch views, and I'll meet you over there. So, identifying it's pretty easy. It says tourney here, top toe, rec.m75 towards the heel, again, top line heel. There's the MT logo here, center, just middle right here in the center, MT in this diamond with these very horizontal Art Deco looking lines. It's the 50s, man. Keep Art Deco alive as long as you can. Mid-century modern, baby. On the sole, it says MacGregor with the sole number, or the higher number, the sole number. And then framed here with these lines, you get the grooves, some wear right here. It looks like it's pretty heel biased, this wear. And the top line looks fine, kind of thick top line. It is rounded, so the light just reflects off of one part at a time, but it is pretty thick. Interesting, big, thick wingback design here for a 6-iron. And it feels like this is pretty shallow, pretty squat for an iron. The iron is pinned right here. The hosel is pinned right here. There are some diamonds stamped into the hosel right here. It looks very akin to nicking, obviously very different, but they just put some decorative diamonds on there. There is some numberage going on here. I think that's a serial number. They have, in the MacGregor catalogs, they have like a breakdown of what the serial number means on the ferrule. And then so black, yellow, that's a brick red, yellow, black ring pattern on that ferrule. Pretty interesting. So moving up the steel shaft, it is stepped, not too many steps, a True Temper sticker, a 1950. I put this on here just so I remember the year. Takimac rubber grip. So it's just a lovely vintage MacGregor 1950s iron. Let's get this beauty out on the range and see how it feels. MacGregor MT Tourney 1950. People talk about 50s persimmons. Today we're talking about an iron from that same era. So some of the greatest persimmons ever made and these irons. So let's have a discussion about that, shall we? And see how it feels. So first thing I want to mention is this discussion about are new clubs better than old clubs, okay? New clubs are precision engineered with the center of gravity exactly in the middle of the face, just a few lines up, exactly where you want it, okay? Older clubs, not so much. Based on the wear pattern here, it seems, again, I haven't measured, but it seems like the center of gravity is slightly heel biased right here in the middle of this wear spot. Most people, even amateurs, center of gravity track their irons. And so they're going to try to hit it out of that sweet spot, which looks like in this iron is more towards the heel. You miss that a centimeter towards the heel, you're going to shank your ball. So, I ask you, are modern clubs more forgiving than vintage clubs, even blades? I'll let you decide, but to me, I think there is an argument to be made that yes, modern clubs could easily be more forgiving than vintage clubs if the vintage clubs aren't made with the center of gravity in the middle of the blade. So anyway, let's see how it looks. The top line is thick. It looks very friendly. It looks forgiving. I don't see any offset here, but it looks like a big forgiving iron. Modern clubs that have this thick of a top line have a big cavity back. It is a little shallow though. It's a little shallow, but shouldn't be too big of a problem. Let's have a look. Weak grip. I normally draw these. Let's just see what comes out. Into the wind.
Yeah, that's fine. A 6 iron, in this wind, it was a little shy of the 150. I would hope this would go at least 150. Oh, I hit it a little bit fat. Let's see if we can bring my strike on, and then we'll see what happens. There we go. That felt really solid. A little pulley, but that carried about 150. Beautiful. I'll take that all day, every day. So the answer is these feel good. When I connected with that one, when you hit it on the sweet spot, you don't get a lot of feedback. There was no twist. It was nice and quiet. It sounded really good. So I'm actually pleasantly surprised. My wear pattern, I can see, is slightly heel biased. So buckle up. You're going to see a shank. All right, same idea. Slightly weaker grip. See if I can straighten that out a little bit. How's the wind? Dying down. Should be just fine. Shank! Did you see that? I shanked one. All right. So, are old clubs less forgiving than modern clubs? That answer is definitely yes, because why would I shank one if it weren't? Totally on the club. Totally not my fault. Let's try that again. I'm going to try that again, see if I can get another shank. That was a pulley one because I was worried about shanking it. All right, well, there you go. I'm a little bit nervous about these irons. I don't know. So there you go. Chalk it up. You finally saw the fireworks everybody was expecting. And it was with a 1950 MacGregor's tourney. Empty. Pro shops are not going to be happy. Think about how their sales are going to plummet when people are wanting new equipment instead of the 1950s irons. Anyway, let me know your thoughts and memories. Have you ever shanked a 1950s irons? I just shanked a from 80 years. I shanked it.
Okay. Even though the club shanked itself, because I didn't shank it, this is pretty interesting. Because you think about life back then, they're starting in this manufacturing, industrial, like, let's get her done kind of stuff. But they hadn't refined it to the point that we have today. And today there are still club makers out there, Tiger Woods used some, where they make custom blades. And they'll make them, but they have the engineering down to where it's very precise. The center of gravity is exactly in the middle of the club, exactly where you want it, and you're less likely to shank it. So with all of that, how do I feel about this club? This club isn't back to the era of hickory handcraftsmanship, okay? Those were craftsmen who made those clubs. Incredibly desirable, in my opinion, because those were made by hand. Incredibly hard to play, but incredibly desirable. Hand-stamped, hand-forged, just wonderful. These are that transition where the industry is still in its, let's say, industrial infancy, okay? Yes, they're getting steel shafts down pretty well. Yes, they're getting heads down pretty well. Center of gravity might not be perfect. Every set might not be identical, like to the millimeter, but very good. Does that make sense? So to me, this is a timepiece that captures a very important part of golf manufacturing, golf equipment history that shouldn't be forgotten. Do I want to go buy a set and play a set of these? No, not 100% no. It is shallow. Center of gravities can be wonky across the set, in a single set, and across different sets it can be just as wonky. So no and no. It's also getting old. You know, you've seen the wear on it. So to me, lovely, interesting history, more in my mind, a collector's item than something I want to go out and actively pursue and play. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As usual, huge shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Another way you can support this channel is by visiting my Amazon shop. I'll put a link in the description below. I am an Amazon associate. I make proceeds from qualifying purchases. Stay tuned because I do have some data from the simulator I'll show here at the end. Thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe. I am The Vintage Golfer.